Welcome to episode 14 of the Long Haul Podcast. I'm Nine, your usual host, and with me, as always, is my buddy Kerry. Hey man, how's your week been?
Hey guys, welcome to this week's cast. My week's been pretty slow.
Boring?
I guess it was one of those weeks. I had like some days off and went to visit my parents and stuff. And you know how that works. No game time, no nothing.
Well, I'm recovering from visiting Paris. I'm actually going back to Paris tomorrow, but again for like the third time in 2 months. But it's just a short train ride. It's not too bad. But I was at the Disneyland Dota Major. That was fun. Really high quality Dota games, I have to say. Even though the organization of the event itself physically was not amazing, I think the show production itself was decent, and the games were pretty hype. So. Sad that my boys OG could not make it, but Secret's my number 2 team, so go puppy.
Anyways, this week we got Aquin joining us again. How you doing, man?
I'm back. I'm doing very well. I'm glad that I could come back here and discuss with some of the somewhat big news happening, at least in Valve updates.
Oh yeah, spicy. So we can just go ahead and jump right on in, eh? So there's been news that Valve has registered. Let me get this correct. Let me open up the link just a second.
It's Dota Underlords.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what they would call it. So trademark details. They've registered trademark details for the Dota Underlords name. Apparently, they've registered as a game as well as like merchandising toy type thing. So they've actually registered it twice, apparently.
Hey, but it's not just toys. It's action figures.
Oh my god, exciting. That's not so cool.
It's pretty much how any game does the merchandising.
Yeah.
Registers their merchandising, especially Valve games.
I mean, I have a bunch of Dota toys, so you know, I totally would. Yeah. And so let's talk about Dota Underlords. Of course, Reddit has been speculating a lot. I've been digging a bit into Dota sub as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think when you hear this name and when you hear these news. What comes? What are your first thoughts?
Okay, so when I read the title, and pretty much everyone on Reddit for this past days has been like guessing that it's their auto chess official mode, but I don't know. The name Underlords kind of feels like something more action oriented than playing auto chess. What do you think, Aquin?
I seriously think it's going to be a standalone version of Underhollow from the 2018 Battle Pass that will be, I'm guessing, first person and VR ready.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up the VR thing because we know that Valve, they're releasing these new goggles, the Index, and they've announced that they were going to publish 3 games for them. I'm not aware that there's any dates for that. But with TI coming up, and they have a tendency to present stuff at TI, I think the VR direction sounds very likely. I'm not sure if I would go in the direction of Underhollow or something else. People are talking about auto chess. I guess that doesn't fit so much with VR. My first thought was auto chess, to be honest.
Yeah, so for people who don't know what Underhollow is, and we're just saying Underhollow, and most people probably don't know what it is. One of you guys want to explain what Underhollow is to the listeners?
Sure, I played a ridiculous amount of it back in 2018. It's 8 teams of 3 battle royale style map where it's a bunch of sectioned off rooms with units in them, unit camps, basically. Think the creep camps in Dota, but bigger and more hero oriented. And you go and slaughter some of them, and then you got to break down some walls to get to the next room. And you continue doing this until you run into an opponent, at which case you hopefully have some items built up from items that the heroes that you kill drop, or buying them in a couple shops around the map. And then you try to take out the enemy heroes. As time goes on, Roshan slowly walks in through the square of the map and cuts off the outer rooms, sort of one layer at a time, until everyone's forced into this little 4x4 in the middle with some pretty ridiculously difficult end bosses there. Plus, you got to worry about the enemy team.
Yeah, so it's a team game like Apex, right? You cannot play it solo. That's my understanding.
Yeah, you can't play it solo with the way it's designed, although I wouldn't be surprised if Underlords is a solo game. Or has solo.
So it's mainly, if it's something based out of Underhollow, it's mainly Valve's take on Battle Royale.
Yeah. Although I don't think it necessarily needs to be exactly the same Underhollow setup, but a dungeon crawler is what I would imagine Underlords would be.
To be honest, I really wished it was like some kind of RPG. With the Dota fantasy and the Dota heroes, it would be like a dream come true.
Like Diablo, you mean?
Not exactly. I mean, more like what's it called? I forgot. Imagine like the early like
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they made a remake based on it. I was trying to remember the game. It's by Paradox, but I can't remember. They just the pillar something pillars. I can't remember. But yeah, like a team based like real time strategy for playing like 4 or 5 heroes in a team. I just wish they did something like that.
That sounds very ambitious. I'm also not sure how they would implement VR into Dota-related mods. And obviously, Underlord is a hero in Dota, so it could also be something related to Underlord, but that doesn't sound as likely, to be honest.
I did a little digging through Underlord's lore and anything connected to Underlord's lore. And he's from the Obsidian City, which I think could be relevant in some way. He also mentions the Emerald Abyss, and he fought the Bronze Legion.
Do you know if he's like the only Underlord, or are there others of his race or so?
He's the only official Underlord from the Obsidian City Emerald Abyss area, which is the official Underlord area. But someone like Shadow Fiend does have some reference to his Underlordness, I guess.
Yeah.
Guys, just so I don't come out like a total noob, the game I was talking about is Pillars of Eternity, and it's by Obsidian, not Paradox.
I remember that name, but I've never played that. Yeah, well, what about the option behind door number 5? It's Artifact's next expansion.
I think that is a 0% chance.
I was going for the 0.05, but yeah.
No, less than that.
But why? Why?
The trademark is registered under Valve, which the only thing they've registered for video games under Valve have been standalone titles: CSGO, Artifact, Dota, and now Underlords. And it also does not mention cards in the trademark at all, which Artifact and other digital card games mention.
Yeah.
I also, it's not mobile. I'm very sure it's not mobile. I saw people talking about maybe it's Auto Chess Mobile, but it does not mention cellular devices at all, which even the Steam trademark does, and any other mobile game trademark that I could find also mentions it frequently.
The main reason why I don't think it's Artifact related is because there's Dota in the name. So I think that basically, why would you ever call it? I don't think it would fit. It would be a bad name for an expansion.
Artifact is registered under Dota Artifact as well.
Sure. But what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't call an expansion. And also, so now that I'm thinking out loud, did they register Call to Arms? Did they register
No.
Dota Call to Arms? Yeah, exactly. So
No, that's what I was saying. It's just if it would be complete remake of Artifact. It wouldn't just be the expansion.
Yeah, I'm with you on the 0%. Carrie, what do you think?
I cry inside, but yeah, I also think it's too soon, and using a different trade name and being it registered by itself, it totally is not an expansion.
Yeah, some people have been also talking about. There's this old concept art floating around the internet about some Valve Untitled fantasy game. And actually, some of the names and art there are actually loosely related to Artifact as well. And people kind of speculated that Valve was indeed making some fantasy RPG type game some while back. And
sweet baby Jesus, that would be so good.
Yeah, but there's also people who are still waiting for Half-Life 3. So
Well, they waited 20 years. They can wait 5 more so I can have my RPG. Come on.
Yeah, and then there's us waiting for Artifact, so who am I to criticize? But,
Well, what concerns me is we know, inside we know this is not Artifact related, even if we wish for it that badly. My question is, where does this leave Artifact by just launching a new IP? Most likely a lot of the devs inside Valve are shifted towards this new IP. What do you guys think? Where is Artifact in the middle of all this?
I don't think the registering of a trademark actually changes anything. I think that means they're going to announce it at TI, but like when they announced Artifact at TI, where they really didn't have a whole lot built yet, it wasn't. I don't even know if it was a playable game when they announced it at TI the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, will it really steal Valve devs who are currently working on Artifact stuff to release what seems to be the general consensus, probably January next year, January 2020?
I honestly think the team working in Artifact is quite tiny. I don't think they're going to be distracting those that are focused on it. But we do have some indications that people that were working on Artifact have been shifted around. But we know that Valve is a kind of a very libertarian or freelance type company, so people can do kind of whatever they want. But yeah, I don't think this is going to affect Artifact, or at the very least, I hope it doesn't. The other thing that I also considered is, if you look at the current Battle Pass structure, there are huge gaps in the middle, and we know from previous years that they tend to announce more features along the way to TI so that people buy and spend more. The current Battle Pass has already overtaken all the previous ones. That's as it is every year. As it is every year, it tends to overtake. So the Battle Pass this year is already making more money than in previous years. But we do see that there are gaps. Specifically, I think after level 500 or something, there's a huge gap. It jumps to level 1000, and then afterwards it jumps to level 2000. Could potentially be that it's some kind of a game or standalone mini game that they're going to release, and that's why also I think kind of auto chess related, that it's going to be integrated in the Battle Pass. It's just strange why they would trademark that unless they plan to really have it go standalone or mobile.
I think it's just standalone, and I would be shocked to see anything included with the Battle Pass. There are a few rewards. There's a style unlock, a Korean caster pack, blood vial, ranged attack effect.
Caster pack?
Yeah, chat wheel. Chat wheel, the like shouting, oi, 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 oi.
Yeah, that was the best.
Yeah.
How about this? How about it's you reach level 1500 and they give you pre-access to the upcoming game Dota Underlords?
No. Like 1500 is
It's
I
insane.
want to say over $300.
I hope you hate money.
Like, there's no way Dota players, we've already seen they don't want to pay $20 for a card game. Can you imagine them being told they have to pay $300 to play Valve's next game?
Well, they'll pay $200 for Naked Axe. Axe part.
Well, oh, shit. You. I remember that when the beta keys for Artifact came out, people were selling them for ridiculous amounts of money, and people were buying them. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Axe Unleashed is only level 425. It's actually not that bad.
I thought I read somewhere that overall the price was like more than $100. So
that's probably true if you don't recycle anything and don't like do any quests. But the like level 1,000, at least last year, hitting level 1,000 was only about $200 as long as you played consistently throughout.
All right, so at the end, I guess none of us know. We're just all speculating. But yeah, it seems like Underhollow remake or Auto Chess seem to be the two front runners. Otherwise, it's something that no one knows or VR related, most likely. And that's kind of what I gathered from the Reddit threads as well. Moving on, the main reason why we have Aquin here again this week is because you want to introduce us to your ongoing project.
Yeah, I took Bubble Boy, the legend, made before Artifact came out, made a JavaScript version of Artifact. And I've been taking it and rebalancing it to better reflect Dota as much as I can. And I have a playable version available now on my GitHub. We'll link the playable version at the bottom.
Sure. Yeah.
I just actually last night added a mono green deck and a mono red deck that you can click on the button and it'll load the deck for you. You can also import decks. So if you build a deck, you can try it out. And basically the main thing I did was switch around colors.
Yeah.
I talked about it a couple weeks ago, removing black, and that is what I did. Redistributed it.
Sorry, which heroes gave you the most trouble moving around? Because there's a few of them that are actually not so straightforward.
Just the new heroes. Because all of the other heroes are
originally from Dota, so you just
I just copied their color. But like deciding where Sorlikon would go,
exactly,
and Debbie, I felt like Mazzy and Keef were pretty obvious. Even Farvin, I thought really should be a strength hero,
even though he provides armor.
Yeah, well, that's the strength thing, right?
Well, agility gives armor, right? HP gives you, or strength gives you HP and regen, right?
So agility in Dota does give you armor, but because armor functions a bit differently in Artifact versus Dota, you wind up with so in Dota there's magic resist and there's armor, and agility gives you physical resistance via armor, and strength, I don't know if it does anymore, but it used to give you magic resist. I think it does still, actually, where you take less magical damage. I had to sort of, because there's only one armor, I had to force that more towards the strength side, and instead I gave agility pierce, which isn't really, I mean, true damage, I guess, is the best example of it in Dota, where it just ignores all armor.
Mm-hmm. So
by doing so, agility can take out strength heroes as long as they are strong enough and have pierce.
Although the some of the magic type damage things from Dota that were imported, like for example Lion's Finger of Death, is piercing damage. So I guess there was the designer's way to simulate magic damage was give Pierce, maybe, in a way.
Yeah, I think it's trying to simulate true damage then. By giving Pierce. Like, I guess, yeah, Zeus has piercing as well, and
it's not straightforward, essentially.
Yeah, I decided to just use Pierce as a anti-armor tool, so that's an agility thing. Strength has armor because it's beefy and tough. It's not going to die. And then intelligence, I removed pretty much all of the piercing damage that intelligence has, just because the magic damage shouldn't scale late game.
Sure. How do you feel about the overall balance of the heroes? Because I feel like there's a few less in agility compared to the other ones.
Yeah, so there are a few less. I mean, it's like 5 less heroes in agility. Although, if you actually look at implemented heroes, which I don't think I linked a table to yet, but for implemented heroes, it is mostly strength heroes, but the amount of agility and intelligence heroes are about the same, which was pretty much true for the original JavaScript version, because it is much easier to implement heroes that are basically just big walking stat blocks than ones that have very intricate spells to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't want to interrupt you guys because you were like in it. I think we're kind of running away a bit from the interesting part, because people open the site and you're gonna have like the deck that you're currently playing, the items that the deck currently has, the heroes, etc. So for people who don't know the mod yet, you just press deck, you see all the cards that are inside it, right? And you just need to type the name of the cards. Is there do you have any is there in your plans to have something where you can easily, in an easier way, construct a deck instead of just typing everything card by card? Because I mean, if you need to use like 3 blink daggers, you need to write 3 times blink dagger. Do you have any is it in your timeline to do something like this?
Well, yeah, there is the import right next to heroes. Between heroes and settings, there's import, and you enter a deck code from artifact, but you got to remove the play artifact part of it, playartifact.com. So it should start with ADC, and that, I mean, cards that aren't implemented yet will just be ignored, but it will. Once you hit OK there, it will just import a constructed deck that you have.
Right. So is there any chance to change the deck that you're playing against?
That you're playing against? Not currently. Currently, the deck you're playing against is just every implemented card, 3 of every implemented card.
And how did you work the AI for that?
I did not even touch the AI. That was Bubble Boy all the way. I have started to look at how I may want to change the AI. Really, as far as I can tell, reading through his code, which, as much as I love you, Bubble Boy, oh boy, you need some comments. And just like one letter, I have finally realized that I've been working in sort of the more difficult way than he was, but still one letter variable names are just not good. That does not help me at all. But looking through, pretty much as far as I can tell, it's virtually random how the AI plays. It recognizes that a card is playable, and then
it just drops it.
Coin flips whether or not it's going to drop it. You know, it's not a strong AI in any sense of the word.
Well, yeah, it's an early project, and I can understand that. I've spent like, I don't know, 3 to 4 hours trying out the mod that you did, and I think I already told you that the two things that kind of annoy me the most and makes me OCD all over the place is not being able to see how much damage is going to resolve and how much damage the tower is going to take. But yeah, it's really cool, and I think you guys can create something really nice out of this. Uh, Being able to make the AI play a deck constructed by you, if you want to put a meta deck being played by it, would be really nice. Other than
I
that,
think
I just think it's pretty awesome.
I think the being able to put an AI deck in is going to be decently easy to do. Hopefully, we'll see. It may just break the AI entirely by giving it a new deck, but I think it should be able to handle whatever deck you throw at it. So that should be one of the features coming sooner rather than later. As far as damage resolving, damage isn't calculated at the moment until the damage actually resolves. So pre-calculating the damage without it actually resolving may be a very difficult thing to implement. But I'm definitely that is something I really would like to add. But like I said, we'll require more digging.
So in like an overall, what has been the biggest feature asked or the biggest complaint you've been getting?
What's been the biggest complaint? The biggest complaint so far has been, or at least that I've really seen, has been no damage resolving numbers and no animations. The fact that the AI will play a card instantly. So sometimes you can't tell what exactly just happened, although the AI does have a last card played section. So it can be helpful to glance up there. There is no turn timer, so you can spend as much time as you want looking at a turn. From a artifact standpoint, I think having a deck builder would be really helpful, because right now you kind of need to flip through like 2 to 3 pages plus have a artifact deck builder open to build a deck. As you got to decide what deck you're going to build and then what cards are implemented that you can use, and then build your deck off of that. So if you're playing constructed, it's a bit of a pain. If I wished for one major change, it would be to have the entire call to arms set implemented. We're not that far away.
And how does it feel to play without black? In your experience, how does it feel? Does it feel closer to Dota?
In my experience, yeah, it feels a lot closer to Dota. The blue doesn't just stall until they have bolt. Blue actually has to think, oh, okay, I gotta build a Chen creep type board to go and take down their tower. I've got to have a bunch of things surrounding my hero in order to take out a tower. I can't just run in as a single blue hero and knock it down. I think red feels a little too strong right now. I probably need to go and just reduce red's attack a bit so they don't kill off everything quite so fast. And I think green is in the best place. There's still a few signature cards that I would like to change around and get closer to my perception of what it could look like. But overall, it's all about clearing waves, and it's a bit about hero killing, but it's not hitting the tower super hard until late game when you've built up items. It's really I'm really happy how green has turned out as a true carry position.
Yeah, because the way you kind of approached it was trying to give green more the power and make the red guys more beefy. So, do you feel like this incentivizes more to play a 3-color deck potentially?
No, I don't think 3-color is going to be the right way to go. I think dual color is going to be the strength, because artifact does have the lane by lane casting color idea. So a tri-color deck, I think you'll be color screwed too often. But with like a green-blue deck, you could have the support of the blue with the carry of the green, or, green-red deck, have the red tank and the green actually take out enemy heroes. So once again, I think red needs a little bit of nerfs, but I do want to get some feedback on stats and stuff. Please, if you have any feedback whatsoever, the issues page is always open.
Yeah, guys, if you want to try this out, we would like to incentivize you to do so and give feedback, because this is kind of a community project. So let us know what you think. How do you see the shop without the color black? Does it give it a whole new feel? Do you feel that green is now the bling bling color, or how do you think that changing around the color scheme affects the shop?
So I think mainly it's affected by green being the bling color. Green has pretty much every gold-oriented card in the game, at least that's implemented. I mean, Payday, Ironfall Goldmine, it's got Bounty Hunter is an agility hero to start off with, so that was a pretty easy call. And that's what cores in Dota do, is they're there to get a ton of last hits so they can get some real big items. Think anti-mage, you got to get a Battle Fury before you're even going to do anything in the game. And that's like a crazy expensive item for any intelligence hero to get, pretty much. I mean, there are some intelligence cores in Dota, but still, like, overall, it's definitely the agility heroes that are making the gold. So giving them access to Horn of the Alpha, to that sort of big gold card is pretty huge. And on top of it, they've got a lot of lane maneuverability, because they did absorb a good amount of black. So things like Relentless Pursuit are green now, which means they get to skip around a lot more with that gold. So a mono agility econ deck definitely makes sense. It's actually the mono green deck that I have the button for on the site right now.
Yeah, because also green absorbed Meepo, which has an inherent ability to move around.
Yeah, although Meepo is not implemented yet, sadly.
Aww.
Meepo's going to take a lot of work, because
for sure,
he's not only has sort of a blink dagger, but also killing off Meepo's cross lane is at the moment a very difficult task, because it really only affects lanes that's currently active right now, or calculates on lanes currently active right now. So we'll have to see what we can do about that.
Sure. And Darkseer, obviously you moved to intelligence, so you also ended up. So also Storm Spirit is an intelligence hero. So I mean, blue should have some type of mobility too, and gains mobility with those two heroes at least.
Although Storm Spirit is going to be losing Ball Lightning.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to know. What abilities do you, and how do you intend to change them?
There's very few that I thought, it was all signature cards that need to be changed. And there was just a few. Some of them have been implemented, some of them have not yet. But really it's... So Ball Lightning, I want to turn into Static Remnant, which will summon a copy of a non-hero unit. So you get to summon a copy of a creep. Eclipse became Moonglaves, because Eclipse was way too much of a crowd clearing spell, more of a blue spell than a green spell. So I gave her Moonglaves instead, which right now modifies allied heroes with +5 cleave in the same way that Time of Triumph does. Although I would like to change it to cleave equal to their attack at some point. That is on my to-do list.
At a cheaper cost, I assume, or do you...
Yeah, it's 6 costed. So cheaper than time because it's not giving you quite all of the stats, but giving especially agility heroes, a bunch of agility heroes plus 5 cleave who already have a lot of them some base cleave, it means they can start killing blue heroes just with cleave.
That seems really unfair.
Really unfair.
Kill blue heroes just with cleave is...
I mean, have you ever been an intelligence hero trying to walk up to your own racks while Luna's hitting them late game? Like, you just died at 2 Moonglaves.
Yeah, that's true. If you put it in a Dota perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always difficult to relate it to Dota because Dota is so position heavy. So it really depends a lot on positioning, and that's very hard to translate to the card mechanics, obviously.
Well, I don't think that's quite true, because I think the people who actually care about positioning in a staying alive constantly sort of form is the intelligence heroes, the very squishy intelligence heroes who have a lot of positioning cards in their sort of ability set there. I gave them juke as well as, of course, all of the compels and swapping cards and all that sort of stuff. You've got the opportunity to at least move one position away from where you were with blue if you include a lot of those cards, a lot of these positioning cards, which I think is the right way to play blue. Is you're going to want a number of these.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be only once you hit turn 6 and need to worry about moonglaved agility heroes that one position may not be enough.
One of the ways that I meant that it's difficult to implement is, for example, strength heroes like Tide Hunter, Magnus, or these classic initiators. It's very hard to translate this initiation type feeling, because obviously in Dota it's very timing, positioning related. If you're going to blink in and initiate a fight or something like that, this is something very difficult to relate to a card game.
Yes. Yeah.
But that I guess that would imply, or they would require changing Blink Dagger to something different, potentially.
I like Blink Dagger where it is. I like the idea that Tide can't blink into another lane with initiative without having a support back in the first lane to back him up.
I just kind of imagined that Blink, like Blink reading something like activated and you'll have initiative in this lane next turn or next round, for example, and then giving you the ability to reposition the hero inside the same lane, sort of. Something like that, like rather giving you initiative rather than making you jump across lanes, and maybe making phase boots change you across lanes. I don't know. It's just an idea. That might be completely broken. I have no idea.
Yeah. All right. I'll definitely play around with it a little bit. I think there's definitely a possibility there to. I think phase boots within lane, Blink Dagger across lanes is the right way to do it, but still to change around exactly how they work in order to give you a bit more possibility of those the blink ravages. Or
yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to change the game. I'm just trying to get closer to the Dota feel.
Yeah, I agree. Someone like Enigma definitely should be able to blink Black Hole. I've played way too much Enigma to be disappointed by just not having initiative and getting killed before I could get off my Black Hole. No, maybe honestly, maybe all you need is a BKB then, is that you have to buy a BKB. So you blink over, BKB blink over, and you'll have initiative going into the next lane or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll definitely play around with lane movement at some point.
I mean, there's a lot of room for manipulating mechanics and other things, but the main thing is trying it out and seeing how it feels and working from there. But in any case, thank you very much for putting in the time into this project.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and like you just said, I really the biggest thing I need right now is playtime and feedback. So if people could please let me know on, Reddit, Twitter, GitHub, wherever you want to get in contact with me, please let me know.
Well, I can tell you one thing that I didn't. It's not one of my main complaints, but it's something that you really need to look into, which is on the deploy phase. If you put a hero on a lane, but you change your mind and want to put it on another one, you just can't.
Yes, I was noticing that the other day.
Yeah. I was like, no, mistakes were made.
Also, can we have imp cosmetics? I want to have imps and cosmetics. And if you can sell me some hats, I will buy them.
Okay, like unironically, that was on my list as maybe I should add this before worrying about any of the bugs or anything. Like, even if it's just a picture of imps on the sides with little, at the start screen, you can select Santa hats or TF2 hat or whatever. Like, that's probably going to be implemented before a lot of the bug fixes.
Sweet. In any case, I think, it's definitely something to try. I wanted to also spend some time this episode just quickly commenting on changes going on with the Artifact Bitcoin League. We haven't heard from Opsy back again. The admins are trying to keep the spirit of the league alive, and they're moving on to crowdsourcing. So they're looking for people to crowdfund the events so that we can keep playing for money every season. I believe the season this month has been aborted, but you can definitely get more reliable information on their Discord. And the Monday weekly events are also changing their structure to provide constructed and draft events from now on. And they also are moving on to a crowd-funded strategy. They still will put some money into the prize pool themselves, but they want players to put money into the events for the final prize pool. How do you guys feel about these two changes?
Well, the weekly Monday ones was because like some water got spilled on a keyboard, right? And he needs to buy a new keyboard.
Exactly.
Which, honestly, it's
So
like
good.
Totally understandable. I totally get that he had money set aside, but now he's like, oh no, I actually need this money for other things.
Sure,
so,
yeah, and those things are expensive.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he's going to a crowdfunding there, it makes complete sense. I think the ABL's one has been a bit of a mess. I haven't really understood what their ideas are and stuff, but they're also their prize pool was a lot bigger. It was $2,000 every couple of months, which is a difficult amount of money to get together for a community this small.
Yeah, definitely. I was talking to them, just chit-chatting a little bit, and the community is so small right now that it doesn't feel to me like there's room for both events to crowdfund at the same time. And I don't have any problem to put a few bucks into the prize pool if it's something I want to dedicate my time to, but it just kind of would make more sense to me if everyone would just come together and decide on a league structure with maybe finals, playoffs, or whatever that that everyone could support and crowdfund.
Yeah, the problem seems to be the sort of draft versus constructed people. Is that we are still a community pretty heavily divided by draft versus constructed. And a lot of players don't want to play the other one, so we can't get a true unified league together.
Sure. I do think it probably at this stage would be harder to constantly run constructed events, because one way to do it would be to just award points to the constructed events and to the draft events, but since drafts repeatability is kind of higher, people who play limited events tend to play much more events, or at least that's what was happening with the ABL. So maybe we would have to implement some type of algorithm to adjust to the number of total events at the end of the month or something like that.
Yeah, and then also, what do you do with the people who can play mixed, who will play both lobbies.
Yeah, it's tricky, but yeah, it just feels to me like a shame to keep running things separately at this point.
I think there's a lot of people who are. I mean, we all like the game and we play it. Well, I haven't played much because I already said weekend. It was like holidays for me, and I was away from the computer. But a lot of people that still play the game, ABL, like even if they didn't win, the prize pool was something that kind of kept pulling people to play. Even if you know you're not gonna win, at least I'll try. And queues weren't big, and I don't know, but people like to play to get a final reward, but they don't want to put their own money. Like they don't want to put like $10 or $20 or whatever for the final prize pool. So even if we still keep seeing these tournaments happen, I don't know if it's gonna work.
Do you think a tournament with no prize pool can still draw players?
I mean, if you create like a matchmaking, I mean, if you make like a ladder and there's like this, I don't know. I also don't know if that's gonna work. Probably no, because people like money. I don't know, but it's
Because people like money. Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It's hard because a lot of even if the smaller pro scene, even if they're not the big names, they were still around because they had a chance of going for the money pool, and now with no money pool, I don't know if some of those pro players won't just start playing something else, and people won't see such appeal to play those tournaments. I don't know.
I mean, there's also the B3H Artifact League running, and they are sponsoring. Well, they're putting in about $500 for the main tournament, and they've laid out a schedule over time, so we know when the events will happen. And I mean, this is basically what the ABL had before, which was this certainty that events will still run, but they kind of stepped in to cover a bit of that hole, of that gap, of that void. So there's that organization as well, and these seem to be, as far as I know, the three organizations running at the moment. So if the Monday weekly events and the ABL, if they don't manage to crowdfund or organize properly, maybe just get together with B3H and make B3H the main event type thing. But I guess that still leaves the problem of constructed.
Yeah, and what still matters, it's hard to just play constructed.
I would very much disagree with that, but I mean, I've still been playing constructed this whole time. I just hit draft rank like 24 the other day after playing a couple draft games.
Don't get me wrong, I also play constructed, not as much as I play draft because I prefer draft. But what I mean is, if you're gonna do like more, there's only the Monday weeklies. They only play the constructed type, but ABL had like tournaments every hour. If you're gonna play constructed every hour, people were gonna get fed up, and that's why ABL was mainly draft. What I was trying to say is, if we're gonna do something more than just Mondays, being 100% constructed is gonna get people bored really fast.
That is true. You definitely could not do hourly lobbies with constructed. There's really no point to that. Draft does have that very high variance in just what decks are coming in. Whereas if you have hourly constructed lobbies, there's going to be people who just camp there with mono blue. You're not going to have anyone bringing fun decks in.
What could be fun would be tournaments like the one that the Red Mist try to organize, the one that we're gonna play, where you just put modifiers, and this week you can't use these type of cards, or you can't use rares, or you can't use red, or whatever. That would bring some flavor and flair to constructed.
As someone who has run a couple, I don't know, limited constructed, if that makes sense, tournaments before, where you are limited in what cards you can put in your constructed decks, it it gets a much smaller turnout, even when Artifact was a lot bigger. And the other thing I found was a lot of people joined the link and just registered a deck. If it's not one of the ones that you can actually limit in the Artifact client, you had to kick a lot of people, because you would get to the finished registering phase and half of them would just be running mono blue, mono red, red green ramp anyways, ignoring all of your rules.
Well, that's not fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it is just language barrier.
I just
a lot
cannot
of
help
people.
but think that there must be some way to do like there must be some way to find a format that suits to everyone so that we can get most people together. But yeah, something to discuss in the Discord groups, I guess.
I would like to say, speaking of unfunded tournaments, I will be starting on May 23rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be the first tournament. It'll be constructed in the Significant Amount of Time tournament series. I'll be posting more info on the morning of the 23rd on my Twitter, on Reddit, and probably other places as well. But there will be... I plotted out the month of June as well, and there will be more days with tournaments in June than days without. So if you are interested in just playing Artifact and don't care so much about the prize pool, this will be hopefully a pretty fun tournament series.
Great. Do you want to let people know your Twitter handle?
Oh yeah, at
Again?
Aquin Artifact. Come hit me up on Twitter.
For sure. And if you're looking for him, you can also join our Discord, and he'll be there when he's available. And you can also chat us up and talk about it.
And you can also nag about his new mod.
Yeah.
Sweet. So I think that's it for this week. Thanks so much for everyone, to everyone for listening. As always, I just wanted to say, if you like the cast, it would really give us a hand if you would leave a review. You can listen to us on all major podcast apps as well as on YouTube. You'll find the links in the usual spots. I would like to thank Aquin for joining us once again, man. Thank you for talking to us and your commitment to the community.
Thank you guys for having me back on. I love this podcast. I love everything you guys do for it.
Thank you. And yeah, let's try to do stuff together, guys, and let's hope that this new Underlords thing maybe brings back Artifact. All right, see you guys next week.